How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? Mind of Sazima here, back with another post-commentary video. Today we're going to be playing over Vice City, oldie but a goodie. I hope my old heads really do appreciate this one, because this is arguably the greatest game that ever came out on PS2, at least in my mind, and that's almost no debate. But to the original topic that I wanted to talk about is the NBA talent and culture. And also, for one more side note, I did release this podcast episode on my podcast platform on Minus Azima. And if you guys are wondering if the audio is different, it's because I did a dumb thing and decided not to reduce the audio in the actual game when I was talking, so I couldn't hear myself. So if you're wondering why things sound different on this post commentary video compared to my podcast, that's why. But now back to the topic at hand. Why is it a thing? Why am I making this video? Well, the NBA talent and culture is taking a turn. People could say it's for the worse, people could say it's for the better. I just say it's change that we might want to look out for. And why do we want to look out for it? Simply put, because I think we're leaning towards being too athletic or too brain dead. Now, essentially, what I mean by that is, well, if we have players who essentially, from the moment they start playing, they just want to dunk, they just want to jump really high, they just want to be put into a position where they don't really have to work hard for their buckets, because essentially growing up in high school, I can tell you myself playing basketball, if somebody knew how to dunk and jumped really high, 9 times out of 10 they're going to try to do that all the time. No effort whatsoever needed. But regardless of that, there are some who are extremely athletic and who work on their fundamentals, but what is more important, your fundamentals or your athleticism? Let's look at 2 players right now that I'm just going to use for an example. We look at Luka Doncic and we look at Russell Westbrook. Now, in an actual race, Russell Westbrook is blowing Luka Doncic in the dust. Luka Doncic is in a slow poke, but Russell Westbrook is just that fast. Now, alright, he beats him in that department, but what about fundamentals? Like, in an open court, Russell Westbrook is beating him 9 times out of 10. But in the half-court setting, Luka Doncic will have his number, no questions asked. Now, why am I saying that? Clearly, Russell Westbrook is a superstar, and so is Luka Doncic. So why would he get crushed? It's very simple. Your fundamentals and the way you play. If you're an athletic player, let's say realistically 7 or 8 times out of 10, you're not looking to be a better player fundamentally. You're looking to be a better player athletically, which is conditioning yourself, which is making sure you're eating a healthy diet, which all of that, it's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, where the problem lies in all this jazz is you're working on your body so much, where's the time for your brain? Where's the time for your plays, your IQs, your understanding the plays, understanding defensive schemes, understanding where you really fall in? And it's not just Luka Doncic. I just use him as an example because he's the most recent player to my mind. That's a European that's extremely fundamentally sound. He isn't that athletic. His three-pointers isn't that great. He can shoot better free throws, but still, he is an incredibly sound and amazing player because he has those fundamentals down packed. Now, besides that, we look at another 2 sets of players. We look at Malcolm Brogdon and Eric Bledsoe. One out of those 2 players is my favorite rookie in a long time. The other is someone that you could appreciate, but you just had to let go. So Eric Bledsoe is what I think Gilbert Arenas considered him a pattern player. I believe that's what he called him. My interpretation of that is he's pretty much very telegraphic. It's like, all right, well, we already know what he's going to do. You know, once in a norm, he probably might toss out a random play, you know, whether it's chucking up a 3 or passing it out at a smart time. But overall, I like to think a pattern player means you're going to do this all the time. So Eric Bledsoe, extremely athletic person, literally kind of too big for his body in my mind, kind of like the Rajon Rondo thing. But extremely athletic player. He's definitely getting a bit older. He's not old yet, but he still has his athleticism intact. We look at Malcolm Brogdon, an incredibly sound player. Fundamentally, he's one of the better players I have had the greatness of witnessing as a point guard. He's not a superstar, but I just love the way he plays. Yeah, he just plays like he knows what he's doing. Granted, he makes mistakes, but he doesn't let those mistakes haunt him that much. When he was on the Bucks, man, I really felt like he had a bright future with Giannis. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because the Bucks decided to keep Bledsoe and let go of Giannis, like sayonara. That might be foreshadowing because I said Giannis. I meant Brogdon. They let go of Bledsoe. Now they're keeping Bledsoe, but they let go of Brogdon. Now, why is that important, dude? Like, I like to think Milwaukee as a whole has a good amount of athletic players. They're not juice heads, but they're definitely, they can hold their own, and they're a pretty tall team as well. Like, let's not forget these guys are freaking tall and lanky. So defensively, they're pretty sound. Now, I'd imagine the only reason you keep Bledsoe is so he could push the tempo more. Have that extra bit of athleticism, which is cool. But to my point, what's more important, fundamentals or athleticism? Because if we look throughout of Eric Bledsoe's career, not a great player in the postseason. Decent player in the regular season, sure, but anything to scoff over. And granted, Malcolm Brogdon hasn't done anything amazing either. But just in 1 year in Milwaukee, when he won Rookie of the Year, he was putting on a show. He was showing people that you don't need to drop 20 or 30 points or do that to be that effective on your team. You can literally just play your part and know your fundamentals and know what you need to do, and I guarantee you, your progress and the level of effort you put onto your team is going to show out. And it's important for this as well, for NBA coaches to realize it, because, again, Gilbert Arenas, what a smart dude. I was watching No Chill, and I think it's the reason why he kind of sparked this. He brought up how a lot of NBA coaches don't know jack shit. Not the Popoviches of the world, not the Brad Stevens and all that stuff. But he was bringing up how a lot of them don't really know, because it's just about just do what you're told. And in the eyes of some of these players, if your coach is telling you, like, listen, bro, you are extremely athletic. I just needed you to drive it in. I need you to make this happen. They're going to do it. But at what point does it become a balance between saying, all right, how athletic am I compared to how much am I comfortable and familiar with the game? Because let's be real, anybody can play basketball. Anybody, whether you have a shitty jump shot, whether you can only take it in, whether you're only good at passing, anybody can play basketball. But not everybody could be a good basketball player. Athleticism pretty much reigns supreme in the eyes of scouts, because it's one of the most tangible things that you see. If you clearly see somebody's physically dominant, then best believe you're going to get the eyes of scouts, you're going to get the eyes of people who are impressed. And they're definitely going to see the potential. Example, Zion Williamson. I think he's a decently sound player so far. He's not... He still needs to sharpen his skills. But, like, an athletic beast on top of already having some form of, like, fundamentals within him, that's a player to look out for. Whether or not he progresses on that, time will tell. But so far, we've seen that he's athletic, he's dominant, and he's a bit fundamentally sound in his shot taking and how he plays defense and how he just puts himself on the court sometimes. So, whether or not you guys enjoy the fundamental part of basketball, or you just want to see people just chuck up shots like Steph Curry, that's perfectly fine. But it kind of just takes away from the game overall when you kind of look at yourself and say, well, damn, dude, I was so physically dominant, but what impact did I really have? And as I keep crashing my car to oblivion, I really don't know how my passengers are still inside as I have 1 star. But yeah, at what point do you, like, say how much of an impact did I really make? And no disrespect to my boy here, Vince Carter, but Vince Sanity is another one of those people that I look at and say, well, how much did you really do, Vince? He has some of the most iconic moments in NBA history, whether he's jumping over that tall-ass dude in the Olympics, or his dunk contest, his honey dips, his 360 windmills, like you name it. Vince Carter is legendary for his athleticism. And as long as you remembered, I think that's all that matters in the NBA. But to those who have something to prove to themselves, for those who want to say, all right, well, like, they remember me as being a dominant freak, but, like, how much of an impact did I really have besides just, like, dunking on people? And again, I'm not trying to, like, downplay Vince Carter. I'm not trying to downplay people who are just athletically dominant, but if the NBA is moving towards where they mostly care about you being long, athletic, and being able to shoot threes, granted, the NBA evolves and time changes, so that's expected. But it does take away from the authenticity and the original way the game was played. I mean, granted, don't go back to just shooting twos, but the point of having fundamentals in every player, the point of making sure that regardless of whether or not I sit out my best player, I'm somewhat comfortable with the players I have in the court, because at least they're not just focused on putting the ball in the hoop or stopping the ball. They're more focused on, all right, like, how can I help out on help defense? How can I, like, shadow somebody? Where can I set the pick and roll? Or, like, can I drive this in right here and get that nice little lead pass? Little things like that. And that's why players like Luka Doncic are getting so much praise, because, in the words of Stephen A. Smith, like, he's balling with brothers, but he's still giving it to him. Like, absolutely, dude. He's balling with these brothers out here that could absolutely posterize them if, like, given a chance. But why is it that in half-court settings and all that stuff, where fundamentals matter, people like him reign supreme? And look at Tim Duncan. It's another example of a player who's always snubbed. Always snubbed. You have those who are fond of Old Man Riverwalk, just as myself. I love this man. You have people who think he is just boring, which, honestly, yeah, we can all agree he wasn't a flashy player. He wasn't dunking on people on the daily. But Tim Duncan is as close to a perfect player as you can come in the NBA, whether it's with his winning percentage over 70% in his whole entire career, whether it's with his 5 NBA championships, whether it's how he went from being Rookie of the Year to absolute leader of the Spurs once David Robinson was kind of out and about with his backs, or finally, whether it's him being a part of the Spurs now and getting a bit more involved. Not really highlighted, not really praised about, but again, one of the most perfect careers you could ever have, and one of the most perfect player you could ever have in the NBA, and people don't see that as a gold standard. They see people like LeBron James as a gold standard, which, in a perfect world, that would be the most ideal player. But we all know not everybody could be a LeBron James. But everybody could be a Tim Duncan. I mean, granted, if you can't be 6'11", but everybody could be a Tim Duncan with your fundamentals, learning the basics, learning your footwork, learning, like, the impact you have when you play certain defense, learning the impact you have when you sit down, learning the impact you have when certain players are on the court with you, or how they're feeling, or vice versa. That matters a lot in the long run. And I do definitely want to see the NBA move towards having more fundamentals, but that also goes to the coaches and the scouts that recruit these people. Because I get it, it's an entertainment business, you have to entertain. But I'm just tired of seeing great teams. And when I say great, I guess it's a bit subjective, but we look at great teams like the Trailblazers, God bless their soul. We look at the teams previously like the Nuggets. We look at teams previously like the Rockets. Come on, man. Come on. I just want to be put into a position where I can see better basketball. You guys can see better basketball, but while also being given, like, an art form. Maybe just because I'm spoiled as a Spurs fan and I've watched their poetry in motion for so many years, I have lost count at this point. But looking how even the Spurs are diverging away from fundamentals and being more athletic and 3-and-D type of team. Granted, things change and life will go on, but at the same time, how far are you willing to take away the original part of the game to make it more flashy? So I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think. Again, my podcast is Minus Azima. Like and subscribe. And let me know what you guys would like me to speak about next. What you guys think about the gameplay. And what do you guys think about the NBA in general? Is it in a good place, a bad place? Or should we just keep it the same?